We are following urgent new developments this morning. The stakes of the election now even higher for former President Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith renewing the 2020 election obstruction indictment against him. He has stripped out the parts that would conflict with the Supreme Court's immunity ruling that says a president or former president cannot be charged for official acts. Trump called the updated charges ridiculous, saying the case is an attempt to interfere with the upcoming election. And he is keeping his focus on the campaign trail with several stops in swing states this week. He'll be in Wisconsin tomorrow. The Republican nominee sat down with Dr. Phil for a lengthy one-on-one interview that aired Tuesday night, saying he expects to win big in November.
Some people say this could be a landslide, too. You know, they could say it would be a landslide. And it's not going to be a landslide on their side. It could be a landslide on our side. It won't be a landslide on their side. It should be a landslide because she will destroy the country. She's going to destroy the country.
Today, Vice President Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, are headed to Georgia for a two-day bus tour. They'll make stops across southern Georgia, a region that typically leans Republican. Harris's campaign co-chair says they believe she has a solid chance to win the battleground state. President Biden won Georgia, you'll remember, by just 12,000 votes in 2020. But right now, she's almost 3 points behind Trump in that state. While in Georgia, Harris and Walz will do their first joint interview on CNN. This will air tomorrow night. Harris has taken a lot of heat for not doing a sit-down interview since declaring her candidacy, and tomorrow will be an opportunity for her to expand on her policy positions and explain how they differ from President Biden's. For analysis, we turn now to NewsNation contributor Dr. Wright, Princeton University political scientist. Always great to see you, Doctor. So much to get to this morning. You know, there has been so much anticipation for this interview. It feels like the stakes just couldn't be higher. How much detail do you think we will receive, though? How much will she be pressed? And do you think it will quiet the critics?
You know, I'm not sure about any of those, Kelly. They're all great questions. I mean, I think Dana Bash will get into the details. I think she will ask tough questions. Many people would see CNN as sort of a friendly network. And I do think it's a bizarre choice to have Walz there. I think Harris can stand alone, and that just opens more questions than I think it answers what role her running mate would serve in that moment, because he's already been introduced to the public. People really want to hear from her. And so I'm curious as to what's the dynamic with the two of them sitting there and what's going on with that. And then if she does evade policy questions, which are the ones that she seems less polished on, more insecure about? Because a lot of her economic agenda is very controversial with the majority of the public. So those questions are absolutely fair, and I think they will be asked.
You know, let's talk strategy for a moment. Trump has less than a 3 percentage point lead in Georgia that we outlined. Biden won the state 4 years ago by just 12,000 votes. What do you think we will see from her campaign in an attempt to pull off an upset in that state specifically?
Well, and I love those DDHQ averages in the swing states. That's exactly what we should be looking at. You know, particular idiosyncratic polls don't always give us the full picture, but these averages are really, really good. And so I do think it's a toss-up, as the numbers indicate. Harris is absolutely going for a strong ground game. I think she'll have no shortage of staff, no shortage of resources. They're doing the face-to-face canvassing and big rally work that, for instance, Hillary Clinton was short on in 2016 in many swing states. So I don't think that will be a problem. I think voters will know it's election day and her base will turn out. The strategy on their part, I think, with Georgia voters, since Trump's denial of the 2020 election results really took hold in Georgia, and that's where some of the legal controversies are, and that's where some of the court cases are. That's where he asked to find the 11,000 votes that Amy Gardner reported at the Washington Post. The Harris campaign might not have much else except Trump is a terrible candidate, But absolutely, from a strategic perspective, they should focus on the message that Trump's dangerous and these were his actions in the wake of 2020 in Georgia. I think that state in particular will be relevant.
Let's talk about turnout and another controversy swirling at this hour as well. Dr. Phil asked Trump about his headline making comment asking Christians to vote just one more time. Here's the clip.
Christians, for whatever reason, don't vote very much, proportionately. NRA people and people that feel very strongly about the Second Amendment, they're not voters. I don't know why. Maybe it's a rebellious streak. And I said to the Christians, we got to win this election. If we win this election, I'll straighten everything out in less than 4 years by a lot. Then you don't have to, it doesn't matter. In other words, I'm saying you don't have to vote. Doesn't mean we're not going to have elections. You're going to have elections, but you have to vote this time because we have to win. This is the most important election in the history of our country.
Lauren, which candidate do you think would be hurt more by low voter turnout?
Well, that's really hard to say because what both campaigns are relying entirely on are the swing voters. And those are the people that sort of held their nose and voted for Trump in 2016. They didn't know what he would do. He was a celebrity candidate, but they were angry with the direction of the country and they took a shot. And then a lot of those swing voters in 2020, after seeing how Trump dealt with COVID, after seeing what they perceived as a chaotic administration, switched back to Joe Biden. And so it's really the campaign that gets those people in the middle. A lot of, our viewers at NewsNation are these sorts of voters who will win in the end. Christians are a very wide swath of voters. I don't think Trump has an issue, for instance, with evangelical Christians. They're solidly in his column. But one consideration that the campaign might be taking into account is that post Roe v. Wade, there's not the energy on the right on the abortion issue that there was when they were trying to dismantle it. That energy on abortion has now shifted to the left. And so that is something Republicans in particular need to be concerned about with their base of voters, part of which are conservative Christians.
There are so many who say this upcoming debate is going to be incredibly consequential. And the former president, he took to Truth Social, right? He said that he's reached an agreement with ABC to move forward with the September 10th debate. He says the rules are set, but Harris's team says otherwise. What do you make of that discrepancy, Dr. Wright?
I think both, and the controversy is more on Trump's side of the aisle this week with kind of withdrawing or appearing to maybe withdraw the possibility of that at least. But both candidates need to get to a place where they say, I'm not scared of the other person. I want to take them head on. I don't care what the rules are. Mic off, mic on. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to debate this person on the issues. That's really the only acceptable posture for either candidate. And that seems to be, at least in the last few days, more of the Harris campaign's posture.
All right. Dr. Lauren Wright, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.